We continue with a review of the development of halakha, and we got to the period of Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Arosh. Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher, who is already, he spent most of his life in Spain. He escaped with his father from Germany because of the persecutions that were directed mainly at Rabbi Meir of Rothenburg. But they traveled through Spain. They finally came to Toledo. They were very respected in the Sephardic community over there, and Rabbeinu Asher ben Yehiel wrote a summary of halakha from the Talmud, and his son Rabbeinu Yaakov decided to write sort of an anthology of halakha. So before him, the only book that existed so far, remember, we spoke about that, is Maimonides. The Yad HaZakah of Maimonides, 14 volumes, clear halachot, one opinion only, no sources. Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Arosh wanted to remedy that, and he also felt that there a couple of 100 years passed since the publication of the book of Maimonides, and now you have to update the knowledge. And again, by the way, he uses the same argument of Rambam. Why am I writing it? יען כי הלכו לנו ימים בגלותנו, ותשש כוחנו, ושמם ליבנו, ורפו ידינו, וחהו עינינו, וכבדו אוזנינו, ונעלם לשוננו, וניתן מדברנו, ונסתמו מעייני חוכמתנו. This is they're very depressing when you read that in Hebrew. He says this: because we have spent many years in diaspora, and we are drained of energy. Our heart is desolate. Our hands are weak. Our eyes are dark. Our ears cannot hear. Our tongues cannot talk. Our speech was taken away, and our wisdom has been the springs of our wisdom has been blocked. So that's like we have nothing. Not only that, people don't know how to learn halakha correctly, and there are many disputes and many opinions. And for every halakha that you look at, there are many different opinions. And what bothers him is that the result of that is that people derive benefit from this world without beracha. That is a concern that was found in the Gemara. They said that everything that when you enjoy this world, you have to praise Hashem. This is an idea of acknowledgement, of awareness. It's beautiful. But for him, he says, if there's for example, the mahloket, there's a dispute. One person says that you have to say bracha. For example, do you say bracha on water when you drink water? Do you have to say shakol or not? Yes? No other opinion? No. There used to be another opinion. There's an opinion that for water you don't say a bracha. Why? You don't really enjoy it. It's just maintenance. It just keeps you alive. Sort of. For them, what do you enjoy when you drink? You drink wine. There was no Pepsi, or Coke. It was wine and water. Water you drink because you have no choice. And maybe if you say a prayer, you wish that the water is not contaminated, because they know that most water in cities in Europe at the time were not potable. And other than that, you drink wine, right? But now, let's say you have those two opinions. Rabbeinu Yaakov says maybe if you follow the opinion that says that you don't have to say bracha, maybe you're taking something away from God without paying for it. So it's a problem. He says I have to clarify the halacha, and he says, על כן העירוני רעיוני ומחשבותיי ועם לבבי אשיחה אמרים אקומה נא ואסובבה בבתי עבד ואבינה בספרים. He says that therefore I had this idea, let me go through all the books and gather all the information and present it to people in a way that will be easier for them to understand. And it says just one or two words from each author, and we'll present it to people. כל דבר ודבר ברכתו הראויה תחילה בסוף ואבררם בעניין שלא יישאר בהם ספק. Meaning, his original intention was to write an anthology or a collection of only the laws of berachot, the blessings that you have to say. But and then he says that he was debating with himself, maybe I'm not capable of doing it. Alo yamim yedaberu verov shanim yodi'u chokhmah. Wisdom comes with age. V'ata ba'ar v'tzair liyamim, and you're still young. And he said, yeah, despite all that, I decided to do it. and eventually he ended up writing this book. But after he wrote the laws of Berachot, he decided that's not enough. וראיתי עוד לחבר הלכות שבת ומועדים ומגילה וחנוכה וראש חודש ותעניות, all the holidays. So that was a gradual process. He set out in the beginning just to write the laws of Berachot, then he added the laws of the holidays. He ended up dividing his book into four columns. Baal, and that's why it's called Baal Turim, the author of the Turim. Because in Hebrew, the word for column in Hebrew is tur. Where does it appear in the Torah? In the description of the breastplate of the high priest. The Torah says, "Umileta bo miluat aven arbaa turim." You have to put the 4 columns in the Hoshen 4 times 3, and in each one of them there are 3 precious stones. So he, like the visual image of his book, is 4 columns, 4 topics, parallel or corresponding to the 4 columns of precious stones of the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol, and each one of them focuses on a different field. So the first and most famous one is called Orach Haim, the path of life, based on the pasuk Todi'ani Orach Haim, Sovach Semachod Panecha Ni'imod B'Yaminecha Netzach. You will teach me the path of life, the pleasant ways of the Torah, etc. The second one is called Even Ha'ezer. Even Ha'ezer, the Even means stone or rock. Ha'ezer is help. There's a place mentioned in the book of Shemuel called Even Ha'ezer. So why did he name the book Even Ha'ezer? Because the woman is referred to in the Sefer Bereshit. When God creates the woman, he says, "Lo tov heyot ha'adam levado, e'aseh lo ha'ezer kenegdo." It's not good for man to be alone. Let me create for him a helpmate. So he called the book Even Ha'ezer, the rock of the helpmate, and included in this column all the laws that have to do with marital issues, marriage, divorce, ketubot, etc.
If the woman, she's not Ha'ezer,
yeah. So now, unlike Maimonides, one thing that he deviated from the beginning, from the approach of Maimonides included all the halachot, whether they were relevant or irrelevant. And irrelevant, I mean that because of the destruction of the temple, they were not practiced anymore. So the laws of the red heifer, of the sacrifices, he included all these in his book. Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher says, we don't need that. That is just theoretical. I want to produce a practical guide. So we only left the practical halachot, and therefore his book is much shorter in essence than that of Maimonides. Not the way you see it here, because this is 1 volume out of 20. But in the original form, you could fit the whole volume of Baal Turim into maybe 300 pages. They're much shorter than the original, than Maimonides. So that's the second one, is Even Ha'ezer. The third one is called Hoshen Mishpat, the breastplate of justice, and that deals with all the laws of judges, testimonies, monetary laws, damages, neighbors, etc. And the last one is called Yoreh Da'ah, Yoreh Da'ah, teaching wisdom, and it deals with all the laws of kashrut, including the laws of slaughtering, the laws of examining an animal to see whether it's kasher, after slaughtering if it's kasher or not, meat and dairy, ta'aruvot, mixtures, what happened if one kosher thing got mixed with something else, and then all the miscellaneous things that couldn't fit into a specific category, like the laws of mourning, the laws of nidah, the laws of kibud avaim, honoring one's parents, etc. They were all there in Yoreh Da'ah. So that was the work of Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher. But the problem with this book was that even though he said, I'm going to present to you the halakha as you have to practice it, it ended up being more an encyclopedia, where people, when they looked at it, couldn't determine what is the halakha, what is that you have to do. He would say, for example, here, I'll give you an example. I just randomly, I'm paying something for Milchot Tefilim. This is Siman Lamed Bet. He describes how you have to roll the parchment when you put it into the box of Tefillin. He says, Veichroch al kol parasha se'ach shel behema te'ora. And around each roll of parchment that you put in Tefillin, you have to tie it with the hair from a kosher animal. ויש כורכים על כל פרשה קלף קטן קודם שנותנים אותה בבית. And there are people who would put around each parchment another piece of parchment, like perpendicular to the scroll. וכן נראה. And that seems the right way. וכן כתב בשימושה רבה, and also the author of a book called שימושה רבה ruled that way, that it's recommended to do that. והרמב"ם פסל אם לא קרח עליה קלף ומטלית. But according to Maimonides, it's pasul. If you didn't put this little additional piece of parchment, it's pasul. ואינו נראה לאדוני אביה הראש ז"ל לפוסלה בכך. My master, my teacher, my father, רבנו אשר, doesn't think that it should be pasul because of that. So what happens is in one line or two lines, it gives us four opinions. One, some people say that you should do it. That's the practice. One book recommends that you should do it, meaning not mandatory. One author says you have to do it, and if you don't do it, the tefillin is not kosher. And the other one says you have to do it, but if you don't do it, the tefillin are not pasul. So what is the conclusion that you remain with? And that is that goes on in the whole book. He brings a lot of sources, but it becomes sort of, like I said, encyclopedia. This is the original halacha. This one says A, B, C, D. The next halacha, A, B, C, D. So in a way, it's the opposite of Maimonides, because he provides all the information, but the problem is that you cannot determine what is the final verdict. What do you have to do? So that's where Rabbi Yosef Karo comes in. Rabbi Yosef Karo lived about 150 years after Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher, and he is the author of the famous Shulchan Aruch. Most people, when they refer to Rabbi Yosef Karo, when they refer to a book, we don't say we follow Rabbi Yosef Karo. They say we follow the Shulchan Aruch, or like Magi say, they call him HaMechaber, the author. That's it, the author, because he became so well known and famous because of the book that he became just the author. Some also call him. They did accept, but they added their own. Yeah, a mapa, right? The Ashkenazim usually also call him a mechaber. Right? That's their name for him. The Sfaradim usually call him Maran, our master, and also it's very common to refer to him by the name Bet Yosef, the Bet Yosef. Now, what Rabbi Yosef Karo did.
But Bet Yosef is the commentary.
Right. Exactly. Bet Yosef is the commentary on the Arbaa Turim, the four columns of Rabbeinu Yaakov and Rabbeinu Asher. Rabbi Yosef Karo said, I need to write a commentary on that, because they cannot be clearly understood. And Rabbi Yosef Karo really had a tremendous breadth of knowledge, and also the ability to clearly explain all the complicated Talmudic discussions. So what he did, he first wrote a commentary. He was very wise the way he approached his work. He wrote a commentary on the work of Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher, on the Baal HaTurim. And in his commentary, what he did was, for every halacha discussed by Rabbeinu Yaakov, he wrote the source in the Talmud, the different ways that the Talmudic discussion could be understood, and how, because of those different ways, the halakha divided into different opinions. Meaning, just like when you read legal text, we all heard yesterday during the testimony of Comey. That's interesting from a legal point of view, that I think one of the senators, Rish, was questioning him on the word hope. The president said Did the president say, I want you to do it, or I hope you will do it? Right? It could have a legal implication, whether there was a command, whether there was a direction, or whether it was insinuated, just like I would like it to be that way. One cannot be incriminated based on that, but when it comes to the president, one could say, in this position, in this situation, that is how it could be understood. So now, let's say you take this to the Talmud, and let's say the Talmud says, in this situation, we hope this will be done. So then you have two authors. One says, hope means not necessary. The other one says, no, it's mandatory, and then it would split more and more. So that's where Rabbi Yosef Karo comes in, and he says, here's the original text. Here is how you can understand it in different ways, 1, 2, or sometimes 3 or 4. And of the later commentators, Maimonides took that path, Rabbeinu Asher ben Yehiel took that path, the other one took that path, and that's why we have now A, B, C. So he really puts out in front of you, and that's why today when you study for Semicha, you have to study the limud, is called Tur Bet Yosef. You study the work of Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Rabbeinu Asher, the Turim, which is the anthology, the encyclopedia that puts all the opinion together, and the commentary of Rabbi Yosef Karo, which clarifies the development of halakha. And at the end of each commentary, if it was applicable, he would quote responsa from the halachic literature that were not used by the Bet Yosef, by the Baal HaTurim. And he was very familiar. When I say responsa, those are the shelot u'tshuvot, the daily correspondence or regular correspondence between rabbis and congregants. That it's not the same. It's not the same as writing a halacha. I will read his introduction in the next class, B'ezrat Hashem, but just to understand what is the importance of what is called the responsa literature, shelot u'tshuvot. We have thousands of books in this category. What happens in the responsa is that in the book of halacha, you have the dry law. Halacha says A, halacha says B. In the responsa, you have the full story. You have the narrative. What is the context? What was the case? And each case is a little different. For example, remember we discussed the famous teshuvah of Rabbi Yosef Misas on hair covering for women. Right? If you look at the halacha, the legal dry text of halacha, it says married women must cover their hair. Now, a question was sent to the rabbi saying, here we have a situation, a married couple, the woman used to cover her hair, but now they're moving from the city of Ujda to Casablanca. And she says, okay, in the village I'm okay with covering my hair, not in the metropolis. Now when I go to the city, I'm not going to cover my hair. They split, they lived separately for a while, they were fighting. Rabbi Messiah says, okay, I have to find a solution. That is the essence of a responsa. That the rabbi tells you those are the special circumstances, and then you could look at it and say maybe it's only for this couple, maybe for other people. His conclusion was that the whole idea of hair covering for women is a consensus, the consensus of the women. It does not depend on a superior halacha from God or from the Torah, but rather whatever women decide is modest, that's what they have to do. If they decide that it's okay to not cover their hair and they don't feel any problem, discomfort with that, they should do it. Not everybody agrees with him, but that is the beauty of the live dialogue and discussion, because you get to know also. He describes the history and the situation in Morocco, Algeria at the time. So this is what Rabbi Yosef Karo did in his commentary to the Baal HaTurim. He brought in all this responsa literature, and as I said, next time we're going to go through his introduction.